All right. I'd like to call to order the city council meeting on Thursday, February 15th. At Trade and Transit 2, third floor. We'll start with the invocation from Councilwoman Bonnie Katz.
As we meet tonight to serve our city with your help, Lord, to serve it wisely, to recognize and respect our past and learn from it, and to make sure our future is financially strong and progressive for our kids and grandkids to excel in our beautiful city. Thank you for all you do for us, and please continue to guide us. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll move to item number 3, approval of city council meeting minutes dated. Agenda says 2/15.
It's
to last meeting. I think February 1st. 2/1 2015.
Would that be 2/2?
I thought it was
Oh, no, 2/1, you're right.
It'd be
Yeah.
2/1.
1.
So from February 1st, which was 2 weeks ago. Do I have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second.
Mrs. Frank?
Mr. Allison.
Yes.
Mr. Pelisi,
Yes.
Mrs. Katz.
Yes.
Mr. Bider.
Yes. Motion passes 4-0. Item number 4, limited courtesy of the floor. We've had no requests tonight. We're going to jump around a little bit because we do have some guests in the audience. We should have the mayor online right now. So we'll go down to item number 10, Mrs. Frank.
The mayor is, I think, number 9, or is it 10? Resolution authorizing Amendment 1 to Work Order 7 between WSP and City for additional services.
Do I have a motion and a second? So moved.
Second.
Yes,
Mayor,
good evening, Vice President. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, good evening, Vice President Biden, members of council administration. What you have before you is a resolution for amendment to the work order for support services for the levy. As we all know, we've been working on this for a long time. We've been going back and forth with the Army Corps and PEMA and FEMA. And this was some additional work that the Army Corps, we've been working with Army Corps and PEMA. They did request this. We're back to the SQRA process. Once again, we had started down that path. We had paused it for a little bit per the Army Corps request, and now we have restarted it per the Army Corps' request. And so with the restart of the SQRA, it's obviously a little more work that is needed and that they need with WSP's assistance. I believe Gaz and or Taylor are on the meeting as well, and can provide the technical answers or to your questions if there are any. And this was reviewed in Public Works.
It was, and
Randy took care of it.
Randy took care of that. So Randy, anything that you would like to add from the Public Works meeting?
Yeah, the conversation centered around the SQRA, which is the semi-quantitative risk assessment, which is an investigation of the levy in part or in whole, to see what possible risks there are, what areas. And as it was explained to us, initially the Army Corps required a more focused look at some areas, and everything seemed fine at that point. And that was the initial money that we had allocated for that. And then subsequently, as these things happen with the levy. The Army Corps came back and said, no, we're going to need the full risk assessment. So we're adding money to the project, to the contract, because more work has to be done in order for us to stay on track and have all our I's dotted and T's crossed. We've seen this happen, Bonnie, for several years here, since we've been dealing with the levy, and it's just a function of working through with different. We have the Army Corps, FEMA, PEMA, and those all have to be coordinated because they all have a different viewpoint on what they want inspected or what have you. So in any case, this one is all about adding money for more work that has to be done for risk assessment.
Where's the money coming from? Do you know? Mayor,
Yeah,
do you know where the money's coming
Yeah.
from?
Yep, Councilman Allison, did you? Yes, it's the $175,000 during the budget process that the administration and city council allocated for the levy. So it's the Act 13 allocation that we had, $175,000 for the levy.
And is that all that's needed right now to, for this
It's
project?
only,
What is, yeah,
yes,
what's,
this one actually is, yes, it's only 92,000, I believe, this one. That's all that's needed for this one, correct?
okay.
If I may add to, in case anybody's wondering why we're spending more, and Gaz, I know you're on the line, feel free to jump in, correct me if I'm incorrect. But this additional SQRA, so this is required for us to update our stormwater ordinance. And as a stipulation that is also necessary. So to update the information that we have, so that makes the city eligible for some government funding to assist us for the levy.
So, Councilman, if I may
Yes,
just
please.
correct you slightly, I wouldn't say that this is tied to your stormwater ordinance, although your stormwater ordinances may be something we review in the future for interior drainage, but it is a step in the process towards justifying federal funding and federal projects. So it's I think step 2 in the process of getting everyone on the same page to acknowledge the risk and to justify the project and to be able to attain those federal funds is the goal, really, in staying in this program and quantifying those risks to satisfy the Army Corps.
Thank you very much for that correction. You have to forgive me, my notes ran together on my paperwork. Thank
That
you.
is quite all right. Yes.
But long story short, we have to do this.
Yes. Would it be possible to get, we've been working with you for what, 12, 13 years?
Yes. Going about that time. Yes.
Mhm. And is it possible to get a printout of how much we have spent for the engineering part of the levy from, with your company? We've gone through name changes and so many other things with the levy. And we've also had different administrations here. And I think, you know, great for all of us if we actually knew what all has been spent.
Sure, we can update that. I know I've provided it at times in the past, so I can go back in and provide a latest update. Would you like that to include the under seepage design, the relief well design recently awarded as well?
Yes, I do. I guess I would.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, absolutely. If you could give me a couple weeks to just get everything together, including the latest, and make sure that I got you everything, then I'll be happy to deliver that to the council.
I thank you so much. I know it's going to be a long process because, like I said, we've been going back 12, 13 years with this. And
Yeah, the biggest,
we haven't shoveled dirt yet.
Yes, that is definitely a big challenge. And I think what we want to make sure that we do is if there's money spent to shovel dirt, we want to make sure that that takes you into the future and that it doesn't just meet an old standard that is no longer considered valid, right? And that's where some of these programs are coming into place, is to get everyone on the same page as to what should be done when they break dirt and, you know, what everyone could agree on. So I respect the need to want to do work. I agree. That's the most important part, is to improve the system.
Thank you very much, Gaz. It would have been nice to see you. We'll see you next time, though.
It is good to hear from you, Bonnie. It's good to see you all. Thank you. And I'll hope to see you again soon.
Thank you as well. If there's nothing else, Mrs. Frank?
Mr. Allison.
Yes.
Mr. Pelisi,
Yes.
Mrs. Katz,
Yes.
Mr. Bider.
Yes. Motion passes 4-0. We are going to then move to item number 12, which is a subdivision for Tri-County Realty LLC. Mr. Nar, if you could please take the podium.
Members of council. What I bring before you tonight is a request for a one-lot subdivision request from Tri-County Realty LLC. It is located at 3500 4th Street, West 4th Street. The current land use is a warehouse facility with off-street parking. It is located within the CC and the ML zoning district. The proposed plan is to subdivide the 7.39 acres with a one-lot subdivision. Lot number 1 will contain 0.9788 acres for future development, which we'll discuss next. The residual containing the warehouse facility will be 6.8522 acres. Both parcels will have access off of West 4th Street and have water and sewer services provided by the Williamsport Sewer and Water Authorities. The plan was reviewed by Lycoming County Planning and made positive recommendation for your approval. You do have a copy of their comments. The comments provided by the county have already been currently addressed and will be ready for your positive recommendation. The City Planning Commission reviewed the plan and made positive recommendation with the condition that an easement access be approved by the city solicitor and recorded with the plan. That easement access was reviewed by Austin White, and he gave his blessings off on that. In the land, once city council approves this, the easement will be signed off on. All of this will be recorded and deeded at the courthouse. So it will become record, both the easement as well as a subdivision. And I do have representatives here and I can answer any questions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Nar. Any questions from fellow members of council?
Gary, the county planning review, were all their concerns met?
Correct. They have been addressed. I do have the approved ENS plan from the Lycoming County Conservation District. Again, the easement, the added stuff, some minor cleanup of the plan itself. They have been set and they're sitting in Lycoming County, Mark Haas's office at Lycoming County Planning. Providing that council approves them, then he'll restamp them, provide them to us. So everything has been addressed and has met the requirements for the zoning of a one-lot subdivision.
Okay, that's all I have.
Eric,
Yes.
who's the representative?
I have Larson Design Group here.
Just
Is it
wanted to-
is it Chris Schaefer?
Just wanted to acknowledge you. Thank you.
Anything else from other members of council? Mrs. Frank?
Mr. Allison,
Yes.
Mr. Pelisi,
Yes.
Mrs. Katz,
Yes.
Mr. Bider.
Yes. Motion passes 4-0. On that note, then, we will move to item number 13, which is a Dollar General land development. Mr. Nar.
What I bring before you is a land development request from Pentex Ventures, which is a real estate development company. It is located, that new address based off of the subdivision that you have will be 3528 West 4th Street. The current land use obviously is a vacant lot. It is located again within the CC and the ML zoning district. The proposed plan is to construct a Dollar General store of 10,640 square feet with off-street parking. The Dollar General will have an easement access off of West 4th Street based off of the subdivision that you just approved. The proposed development will have both sewer and water provided by the municipal water and sewer authorities. A will serve letter has been served, and I do have that as part of the record. The plan was reviewed by the city engineer, Eric Smithgall of the Stormwater Authority. An approved ENS plan dated January 4, 2024 was approved by the County Conservation District. I do have that. The plan again was reviewed by Lycoming County Planning, made positive recommendation. Same comments, those comments have been addressed. The City Planning Commission reviewed it and made positive recommendation with the condition that a buffer area along the western part of the parcel be created. And what that is for is because you have a commercial business there, and then right next to it, there are two homes. There's a home or two that's there. In order to do, we felt that basically putting that commercial next to a residential in zoning does require a buffered area. And with that, again, because it's in the commercial zone, we requested that the buffer area be put in there as a condition for approval. And Ben is here representing Pentex Ventures, and they agreed to that. So therefore, everything has been met and is before council for your approval. Hopefully I didn't confuse you.
Yeah. Is that the shaded area on the map?
Correct.
That's the buffer. Okay.
When I, in the future, when I show you presentations like that, I will have that, the overlay of the area as well as the shaded area, that will be the land development or the subdivision.
Okay. Thanks.
Any other questions from members of council?
I have one, and I only ask this because some of our council members aren't present tonight. So for their benefit, because I know they want to know, are there enough trees? Or will there be enough trees, this development?
As far
The
as
green space, shrubbery, we're adhering to,
again, it does meet the zoning land development plan, and part of that area that will be buffered will be probably some sort of shrubberies.
I assume, but I wanted to make sure I.
Normally in any land development, we do require them to meet that criteria. And as you do note, county had not commented that it didn't meet it, so it does meet the criteria
Thank you very much.
for
Mr.
both
Miller.
land development and 1793 of the landscape ordinance.
I appreciate.
Can you hear that, Liz?
Yeah. I think we all knew who I was asking for. Mhm.
The question that I have with the plans that we have before us, and given the not so cookie cutter nature of these stores, a few years ago, the store that was placed on Washington Boulevard, the facade of that was done in a very tasteful way. Is there plans to make this a different design? Is it going to be this standard metal front? How is that going to look? Has that been reached yet?
I don't believe it's been reached. Ben, you can
Okay.
address that. Is it going to be the standard? You can come up.
Understandable. I didn't think you'd put the cart before the horse, but once again, just curious as to what that was going to look like. So
What will happen is once the land development, this plan is approved, they'll bring before me, obviously, the building permit application. And at that time, it won't be brought before you, providing that meets zoning requirements in the building code, but I will advise you of some renderings of what the proposal will look like.
excellent. Thank you very much. If there are no other questions, then Mrs. Frank?
Mr. Allison,
Yes.
Mr. Pelisi,
Yes.
Mrs. Katz.
Yes.
Mr. Bider.
Yes, motion passes 4-0. So we will get back onto our regularly scheduled program here and move up to item number 5. We have a small business presentation.
Good evening, everybody. I am Marco Colbert. I am the owner of Patriot Mobile Auto Body and Detailing. What I would like to present tonight is a possibility to expand my business into a detail shop in Williamsport. If you guys have this packet here, It will show one thing, and that is that I'm a 5-star business owner with very good reputation, impeccable work and work ethic. On the second page, it's going to show a building that I rejuvenated in the borough of Muncie. I like to joke sometimes and say that on the outside, it looked like a crack house, because it did. The brick was exposed. There was no paint. There was no electrical. There was no water. There was nothing. It was a shell. I came in and put state-of-the-art epoxy floors in, paint all the walls, updated LEDs, whole nine. However, it's actually at the point now where it's getting in the way of my YouTube business. One day I was, not to get into a tangent, was running the pressure washer one day, and I put in tire shine instead of soap and got silicone over the whole back half of the shop, which basically I decided at that point, time to build a detail shop, because trying to basically in that shop, it's a YouTube studio, the one you guys are seeing in this picture right here. It is a YouTube studio, and then I also do minor detailing work in there as well. I would like to build a separate facility just dedicated to detailing. As far as the mobile auto body business, that is a business where I go out and I have a body shop basically in my trunk. I paint bumpers, fenders, quarter panels. I've fixed bullet holes. I've done pretty much everything right in the parking lot. That is my main business. And then, but I was also looking to, like I said, expand into a detail shop on 515 Arch Street. I've already secured the property. I paid out of pocket for it, cash. It's a great property that I believe the city of Williamsport has, nobody's done anything with it in the past decade. It's sat vacant. It's a tax liability, meaning it's not, basically not adding any tax revenue to the city. I was coming to you guys tonight presenting the idea because obviously seeing the past two presentations, it is possibly something that is going to come to council to get voted on to be built. I have no idea as far as the zoning yet. I don't want to get the cart in front of the horse or whatever. I have no idea as far as the zoning or anything of that nature. But I simply wanted to present this type of facility. Now, if you turn to, I believe, the last page, that will show you a prospect of what the building will look like. Don't know why boroughs and cities and all the other counties and stuff like that aren't taking advantage of it right now, but metal is down water down the drain. It is probably reduced in price by about 50%, and that's the way I would like to go. That building right now is, quite frankly, a peanut compared to what it was in COVID. They look good when done. They look good when built properly. You can get them painted whatever color you want, and I believe it will be a very good addition to the city, business-wise, prospect-wise. Just didn't know if anybody had any questions about what I'm presenting.
No, and I believe you did a very good job summarizing what it is that you're looking for.
Okay.
And it's a great place to get started. As you saw just a few minutes ago, Mr. Gary Narr is going to be a great resource for you to communicate with a little bit more. And as you mentioned, that property being on Arch Street, 515 Arch Street, is directly across from the Brodart building over in the Newberry section of Williamsport. Not quite into Jaysburg, but still Newberry. And it has been vacant for a number of years. It's right next to the Harvest Moon restaurant and gas station as well. There's an apartment building that sits between the two parcels. So if there's anything, what I would say on a final note from my perspective, that you need council's help for, that you reach out to us and we can direct you to the proper resources. Again, Mr. Narr being one of the most important.
Right. Another thing I'm going to present as a business owner and as a new business owner coming to town, present/ask. Has any of the city council, including the mayor, has anybody had the talks about deregulation when it comes to infrastructure and business? Has anybody had that type of a conversation?
When you say deregulation,
Deregulation, meaning lightening up the laws on new infrastructure, making it easier for business owners to come in and build and have businesses.
so currently our city treasurer, Kevin Mackey, is working on programs for that, and he will be presenting next ERC meeting, which would be in 2 weeks, February 28th,
Okay,
which I would welcome you to come to that meeting, which would be 9 o'clock in the morning
okay.
on Wednesday. And you can ask any questions regarding that then.
Yeah, and Kevin, I've actually already spoken to Kevin. Kevin talked about a lot of grants that you got, which I believe are incredible, what you guys are trying to do, grants and tax cuts for new businesses coming into town. Hey, first year, whatever you put on it, 100%, it's a wash. Great. Love that idea. What I'm talking about is old, phony, and corny regulations when it comes to buildings and infrastructure. Just to give you an example, I'm in Muncie, okay? Any new structure that is built, they have some pretty outrageous regulations when it comes to building. I will give you guys the inside, and I believe you guys already know what I'm going to say. What business owners are looking for is deregulation. You guys are running a lot of programs to try and get new business owners to come in. Deregulation is really going to be the key. Now, what I'm not saying everybody just buy property and no permits and no nothing, and everybody's going to put up horse barns. I'm not saying that, but some of the infrastructure laws, and I've done a lot of studying of that. A lot of those laws that come from the 90s and early 2000s are extremely phony. And I would suggest that city council and the mayor and everybody take a good look at that. Because it's when you guys begin to not fully deregulate, like I said, we're not going to make the city of Williamsport lawless, but when you begin to deregulate and scale things back and make it easier for business owners to come in, we'll come in full swing. And Janice has been extremely welcoming. I believe she was like the first or second person I called, and she's been extremely welcoming, and everybody's been extremely welcoming, and it's been a good experience so far. But that would definitely be my recommendation as a business owner is to get things going is deregulation with certain infrastructure and old laws, and take a look at some of those coming off the books. So, but anybody have any other questions for me or?
I appreciate you being here this evening.
Okay.
It means a lot that you're willing to invest in the city of Williamsport, and I welcome you to attend our ERC meeting on the 28th, and we can get a little bit more into the weeds, if you will,
Okay.
about some of the concerns that you have.
Okay.
I'll ask that if Mr. Nar is available, he could potentially be there as well. And hopefully we can hear a lot more from you then.
Okay. And that meeting on the 28th, would you guys going to be presenting more so like what your plans are to bring new business to Williamsport at that meeting, you said?
From what I understand, Mr. Mackey has on his agenda, yes,
Okay.
and some potential programs, but we don't have that agenda yet. So I'm not
Okay.
going to speak too much. I don't know too many more details.
Okay. All right. I'll be there.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
We'll move on to item number 6, an ordinance amending transfer ordinance number 10 in final reading.
You need a motion?
I do.
So moved.
Second.
He was waiting for that.
Good
Mr. Livermore.
Good evening, members of council. Yeah, what you have before you is transfer ordinance number 10. This is the final reading of this. Basically, what happened was there was a typo into this, and we have a new reappropriating surplus, which is 889,347, I believe. So this is the final reading. Nothing's changed since last meeting. Do you have any questions?
Seeing none?
Mr. Allison,
Yes.
Mr. Pelisi,
Yes.
Mrs. Katz.
Yes.
Mr. Bider.
Yes. Motion passes 4-0. We'll move on to item number 7, which is Ordinance ARPA transfer ordinance number 13 in final reading. If I can have a motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Good evening again, Vice President Bider and members of council. What I present to you is a second reading of an ordinance amendment number 13, which basically, I believe council added several other item orders. The primary one obviously is from transfer from public safety from the ARPA funds to for a copier for the codes department. In addition, there's going to be some you have transfers from the recreation contingency from ARPA in order to fund Ways Garden, Lowe's Park Community Garden, future projects, Grappius Run, and the levy system. They all were added to the transfer ordinance, ARPA transfer ordinance, and hopefully I can answer any questions that you may have.
Ready? No?
Now, wait a second.
Well, some of these were added that were.
That's quite all right. Seeing, hearing no questions from council, Mrs. Frank?
Mr. Allison,
Yes.
Mr. Pelisi,
Yes.
Mrs. Katz.
Yes.
Mr. Bider.
Yes. Item passes 4-0. We'll move on to item number 8.
An ordinance amending Part 15 Fire Prevention Code, Article 1521 Fee Schedule in first reading. A motion?
Excuse me.
So moved.
Second.
Good evening, Vice President Bider, members of council. Before you is a ordinance amending the fee schedule under the fire prevention code. What we're requesting is to add a CPR. We're updating the fee schedule to include CPR and first aid training. There's some costs that are associated with that we need to address. And then there's also an update with the company, the third-party company who does the billing for vehicle accidents, those kinds of things. So it's been a while since this has been updated. So it was brought before the Public Safety Committee and also reviewed by Austin.
Excellent. And public safety, that was Randy as well. Vince.
Yes, it was. Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening.
No, we discussed this. And really at its core, what we need to do is amend this ordinance because to my understanding is that the fire department is expanding beyond just our normal municipal boundaries to provide CPR services to other businesses, other entities outside of our area. And as such, we need to update the fees and filings, the schedules of the fees to providing those services. So I think it's absolutely great that we're getting out there, providing the training to other businesses, making sure everybody's trained on how to stay safe. So, yeah, it was a good discussion.
Anything else from other members of council?
Chief, can you explain what you said? The fees, they also go through an insurance.
Yeah,
Company.
it's a third-party company, and there's been a few hiccups, most especially recently, that you and I discussed on Monday. But normally they are to bill the insurance company, go through the insurance company to recoup some losses, such as at a vehicle accident, oil, dry, those kinds of things that are used during incidents.
So with a fire, what is that covering? The insurance, it's with a fire, say?
So with that, each insurance policy has a certain amount that's budgeted or that's included in their policy. That is to go to the fire department to recoup those losses, and that's what we're seeking.
Oh, it's for anything in the department. Is that what you're saying? That cover those
Anything that's
expenses
used
also?
over the course of the fire.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, now I understand,
Yeah.
because I didn't understand whether this was for the vehicle or the home or whatever, but it's to cover all those other expenses, which is coming out of your budget.
Correct.
Okay,
Correct. The equipment and, other things that we use that, you know, we have to recoup
which
and replace.
we know everything has gone up in price.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. I have no other questions.
You bet. Thank you.
Seeing and hearing no others?
Mr. Allison,
Yes.
Mr. Pelisi,
Yes.
Mrs. Katz,
Yes,
Mr. Vaida.
Yes, item passes 4-0. We'll move on then to item number 9.
Resolution 2023 State Fire Grant.
So moved.
That,
second.
thank you.
Okay, before you is a resolution to accept a state fire grant. This is an annual grant that we receive from the Fire Commissioner's Office. They did increase the amount to $20,000 as the maximum. I found out today in a meeting that there's a new formula because of a number of different reasons. They came up with a formula to come out to the amount that we received. We received $16,951.99. Multiple departments received similar amounts. This grant, there is no matching funds that go along with it. It's just a grant that is provided.
Are there any restrictions as to what this money can be used for? Receiving
Yeah,
grant?
so when you submit the budget or when you submit for the grant, there are, you do have to submit a budget. So, for us, what we're looking at is replacing the flooring at fire headquarters. And that amount was, I believe it was $13,581. And also painting the interior of fire headquarters. And that amount came out to, I believe, $6,573. So that the painting would be performed by Streets and Parks. So
They
there
couldn't
would be,
charge us less?
pardon me?
They couldn't charge us less? Streets and Parks,
Oh, no.
they couldn't charge us
Not-
less?
No, so there's no labor cost that's associated with that, but they do have, there were some stipulations that if you were to use a company, it has to be a licensed with the state, so.
But we're okay to use Streets and Parks for that. There is no
Yes,
issue with the grant.
yes, I did
Okay.
call before I even submitted it. I did call and ask that information.
Okay.
Also, this was reviewed by Austin and by the Public Safety Committee.
And anything from the Public Safety Committee?
No, we discussed everything that we've touched on tonight. We touched on Tuesday, so.
Any other questions from members of council?
Just so I have this straight, the grant is for 16,000?
Yes, $16,951.99.
And how are we gonna make up the difference to the 20,000?
So we've got to be a little more creative. When we expected to receive the full 20,000. Our budget, I believe, came out to $20,054 or $154. So we do have some money in the capital budget
Okay,
that we would be able to reallocate towards that.
okay. Thank you.
Sure.
With no other questions, Mrs. Frank?
Mr. Allison,
Yes.
Mr. Pelisi,
Yes.
Mrs. Katz,
Yes,
Mr. Vaida.
Yes.
Thank you.
Passes 4-0. We will move on down to item number 11.
Resolution authorizing payment to Motorola Solutions.
Could I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Good evening, members of council. This resolution is simply for the payment for an outstanding invoice for our outgoing records management system, Spillman, which is owned by Motorola, and it's in the amount of $34,955.85. These are charges that were incurred for the year 2023 and was budgeted through our contractor services line item. Original invoice was about 49,500, and through the course of the year, our IT staff worked with Motorola to bring that down. We removed about $14,600 from our bill to get it down to 34,900. And these were all functions that we were not using and things that had no functionality anymore. So as you know, we're moving to a new records management system. So hopefully this year we'll be able to stand down Spillman and move fully over into the new eForce records management system, which is now being utilized by most of the municipal police departments in the county. This was also reviewed in public safety.
Thank you very much.
I'll entertain any questions.
I get to talk again.
You do.
All right. Good evening, Chief.
Good evening.
No, what Assistant Chief Bolt said, spot on. The funds for this were, and I believe he had it right down to the line item 79100
Yes.
of the budget. This money was allocated in the budget for that. And I was very happy to hear that we were actually able to reduce some expenditures, exactly the 14,600. And with this implementation of eForce, it does create a lot of continuity now that a majority of the other municipal police departments within the county are also either are going to or have already gone to.
Yes, currently right now, we're all in the phase of getting our servers up and getting trained. The only one that's now live currently is the county police department, the Lycoming District Attorney's Office, because they don't need the functionality that every other department needs with 911 center.
So it's going to be, I think, very beneficial for all police departments within our county now that we're getting on the same universal system. Nothing further.
Any other comments from members of council? Seeing and hearing none?
Mr. Allison,
Yes.
Mr. Pelisi,
Yes.
Mrs. Katz,
Yes.
Mr. Bider.
Yes. Motion passes 4-0. We'll move down then to item number 14, accept for filing. The controller's report from November 2023, Public Works from March 29th, 2023, and the WMWA and WMSA from December 20th, 2023. Can I have a motion in a second?
So move.
Second.
Any questions? Seeing and hearing none?
Mr. Allison,
Yes.
Mr. Pelisi,
Yes.
Mrs. Katz.
Yes.
Mr. Bider.
Yes. Motion passes 4-0. Announcements. The next regularly scheduled city council meeting will be held on Thursday, February 29th, 2024 at 7 p.m. Trade and Transit 2 at 144 West 4th Street, 3rd floor here at this facility. Upcoming meetings, Tuesday, February 20th at 6:30 p.m. is our HARB board. Wednesday, February 24th at 10 a.m. is blighted property. Tuesday, February 27th at 11:30 a.m. is public safety. At 1 p.m. is the finance committee. At 2:30 is public works. Wednesday, February 28th at 9 a.m. is economic revitalization committee. At 11:30 is the redevelopment authority. On Thursday, February 29th at 7 p.m. is the city council meeting. Any comments from members of city council?
If I might just add real quick, for Wednesday, February 28th, the 9 a.m. ERC meeting, those are being held in person.
Correct.
They are not being conducted via Zoom. We're holding them. That's right, Gary. They're being conducted in person. Just want to make sure we get an up close smile. Yep.
Any comments from any of the members of the administration? Comments from members of the public? You have 3 minutes, sir. If you could please state your name and address when you get to the podium.
Good evening, members of council. Ralph Keller, 203 Hughes Street. Most of you know where I live, like 40 feet from the Little League Fields, corner of Hughes and Elizabeth. This morning I sent an email. Some of you have opened it, some of you haven't. On a particularly rainy day, I took some photos from my attic, which is like 30 feet up, showing the flooding over there. And it's more than discouraging, it's disgusting that $800,000 was spent probably on that. And in my opinion, the flooding's worse than it ever was. When I watched the construction, I could tell right away that that drainage wasn't going to work. I've been around enough building projects that I have some idea how these things work. I wouldn't blame the contractor. They did a beautiful job of cleaning and painting and stuff. I think that the problem was with the design, possibly whatever interaction the city engineer had with them. I'd be happy to talk more about that, but the drain field is totally insufficient. It doesn't drain. The contractors told me there was an 8% grade from the mound, pitcher's mound out to the drain field. It's probably more like 0.8%. That would have been an 8-foot drop, which it's obviously not. The other thing that is concerning is I found or heard, I believe in the paper and so on, that the problem with the sewers were not addressed. The dugout area, or rather the buildings there that go with the boys field, had the restrooms in them. They haven't used those for years. They had porta potties because the drain wasn't working. And I know even when I was on rec commission some years ago, during homemade days, we could not use the restrooms in Brandon Park Band Shell because the sewer didn't work. I'm assuming as close as they're probably connected. So I'm just wondering why that wasn't addressed. Also, I was just curious why with what they spent, they didn't replace the lights. I'm sure the lights like they put in the tennis court are probably more energy efficient, but I want to call your attention to the mess, and it is a mess over there. When it rains, last week, when we had all that heavy rain, it was a disaster. And then some kids went in and ran through it, and they've got mud tracks, yay deep in it. It's a real problem. If you guys try to play baseball and it rains, I don't know how you're gonna get your games in. And it doesn't dry right away. It takes 4 to 5 days, even in good weather, for that field to dry out. Watching when they did it, before they put the final dirt in the middle of the infield, it appeared that the base was impervious to water. It just laid there. So the question is, who is responsible for that mess? Why didn't they take some core samples to check for drainage, knowing that that was the problem that supposedly instigated this whole thing? And I'm hoping the city should go back on somebody and sue for that mess because it's not right. So I'll leave that information. I'll be here if you have any questions. Please contact me, come out to my house, or come out during a rainstorm and see what a mess it is. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Keller. Any other comments from members of the public? Members of the news media?
Don't see anybody.
Nor do I. That brings us to our final item, number 16. I'll take a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much, everybody.